Otakuology podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
All right, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Hey, what's up, guys? So, what's up, everybody? Are you ready for another exciting episode of the best show in the world, Otakuology?
A lot of people really like this show,
It's true. A lot of people do like the show.
including my girlfriend.
She listens to our show that much?
Yeah, she really likes it.
Oh my gosh.
She thinks we're like hysterical.
Oh my god. So I just gotta wait till she meets me in person and she's like, I hate your guts.
I don't know about that.
Could happen. Could happen.
What are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about mangaka and their time limit to create and publish manga, and kind of hoops that they jump through.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really interesting topic that you came up with. So tell me how did you come up with this idea for the podcast? Because we kind of sort of touched on it a little bit when it came to that game we played, that manga game we played that one time.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious.
So what really spawned this conversation was I had a thing pop up on Instagram that and I can't remember his name. But the mangaka for Hunter x Hunter is taking another hiatus from the series again.
Oh, again?
Again.
Well, I mean, he's known for taking hiatuses, but I mean, I know he kind of came out with something, was it early this year?
Yeah. So on the thing, like, how long should a series last, and how long do you think it should last? And do you basically? This can sound really bad. I'm going. Do you basically like let them be like the guy that made Berserk and go on forever to possibly not end their series?
Well, I think when it comes to Berserk, that was kind of his like magnum opus, and like he really only did that, except for like maybe like a one shot, but he really only did Berserk.
Yeah.
And Berserk is so fucking highly detailed and stuff. I can see why like it took him a long time.
Yeah.
To do it,
So, yeah, I mean, so what is an acceptable time period, I guess, is the question that I'm throwing out into the universe on that stuff. And I figured we could kind of take this and go in a few different directions. So one pet peeve that I have with manga is if you're reading something and the person says, oh, well, the reason why I made this was just to see if I could make like make a series like this, and they have no they have no desire to like finish the series, even though it could be a really good series or something like that. I can't remember the guy for it, but there was somebody that wrote Gunblaze West and volumes. And basically at the end of it, the guy said, I just, I wrote this basically to make sure like that I could say that I could make a Western, but I have no desire to finish this.
Just out there, maybe that's just a cop out because
no, because it didn't get canceled.
All right.
Yeah, like it says at the end of the book, like basically he stopped it himself because of that. And I want to
Yeah.
say it was the guy that wrote Shaman King.
Okay. Okay.
And
Well, I mean,
he just said I
you
wanted to see if I could write a western.
you could kind of say that there's a lot of different pressures or requirements placed on mangaka,
Yeah,
just like we have with like comic book artists over here.
right.
You have to quote get your title out on a certain time, time frame and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Regardless if you have like assistants or stuff. But there's like a very good video. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was like the day in the life of a mangaka,
Yeah.
and it was for the Rent a Girlfriend mangaka, and you got to see his entire day from start to finish on what he did and what his assistants did and stuff like that. So stuff like that really does give us a good insight into what manga creators do each day, kind of thing
Right.
ish,
Right.
depending on the creator, we will say. Because sometimes we don't necessarily get that over here in the West,
This is
and
true.
because obviously there's a language barrier and stuff. But like it's interesting to see like the time constraints that are placed on the mangakas, depending on if they're weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, stuff like that, because there have been ones that I would read and they, would go on pretty big hiatuses for a
Yeah.
while. I think like uh, one that I can just think of right now, like Monster Musume. I bought a volume of it at the beginning of the year, and I'm waiting to buy the next volume
Such a good
towards
series.
towards the end of this year, you know? Or you can be like, what was that one guy? I don't remember what his name was. He was the one who wrote Booty Royale.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He basically said, like, I'm not going to write this anymore because I'm basically like, I can't write it
Yeah.
type of thing. Like, so he kind of like fucking ended his series basically
Yeah.
just because he wasn't in like a comfortable place to write it or something. Or you can even think about it, like even with like a big one for us, the one that you and I both liked, 12 Beasts.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
12 Beasts, like the creator had a fucking panic attack and meltdown because his publisher, his editor said, "Hey, how are you going to end the series?" type of thing. So he thought his series was getting canceled, and it wasn't, and he just canceled it himself, basically.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh, yeah.
which begs,
Well, and then on top of that, him spreading himself thin because he was writing like 3 series at once.
if he was doing Monster Musume, 12 Beasts, and then he did like a one shot or something,
Yeah,
you
he
know?
had a couple one shots come out.
Yeah. So which like begs the question, like, what time constraints or pressure are they under to
Yeah.
complete their manga? Because I mean, we could even go with like Shonen Jump. Like with Shonen Jump, like even with like the new stuff, like remember those series that were coming out? They were like they would get like maybe like 4 or 5 volumes, and they would
Yeah.
just end.
Yeah.
Like they were like brand new series. Like they didn't have time to, or really a chance to like evolve and
And be fleshed
um,
out.
be fleshed out and stuff. And people are like, oh, why is this? Or like they're releasing manga that like just get canceled over here,
Yeah.
or they got canceled, but they're finally releasing them over here. That's a whole other thing about like um, when we get it versus when they get it, stuff like that, blah blah blah,
Right.
But like we like we you're like, man, why did this get canceled? Why that get canceled? Like, obviously sales are a big thing, but one thing that I kind of want to bring into this is the influence of like the fans. And when I say influence of the fans, I don't mean like us as Westerners, but like as like the Japanese influence of the Japanese fans.
Yeah.
Because you know how like they have like Shonen Jump, or they have like the, oh, what One Piece character is the great, like the best one, like this month or whatever, like one like the popularity poll and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how does that influence the manga? Like, does it influence the manga in a good way or a bad way? Does it potentially like steer the manga in a different direction than like what the creator originally wanted? Like, is the creator getting like strong armed into like creating something that's not their original vision?
Right. Right.
They get forced into it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to jump in.
I was listening. I was like, "Yeah, Mike's got." And then I was like, and I agree with you. I feel like that really focus on that are high, and especially going back to that game, that crazy ass game that you and I played.
The Manga Works game.
Yeah, like you just never know on some of that, and it's kind of like a build off. You know, playing that, and it was kind of weird. You and I both like talking about the same things, what we focused on and whatnot, and how when a person kind of gets into like their clique of what they write, I think it also is like actors where, oh, I see them in this rom com all the time, so they're a rom com actor, and it's hard for them to move out of those areas and into other things, you know. And I kind of feel that way with manga a bit, but then at the same time, on the flip side of it, I almost feel like sometimes they like block themselves into that because then they go, well, this is how I've trained my mind to think, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you've also there's one. I would say like a source material people can check out is Bacchanal. I mean, you've read, you know,
Right.
which gives a good like look at like what the manga industry kind of is like a peek under like what mangaka have to go through and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
With manga and stuff like that. Like I also feel like you know like the character pulse can be like a backlash, but like also the fans themselves in the way when long running series do take hiatuses and how
Yeah.
the fans can affect the creators themselves, like
Yeah.
the example you gave earlier, which was the Hunter x Hunter creator.
Yeah.
Or as I like to know him as the Yu Yu Hakusho creator. Way better than Hunter x Hunter, just gonna say that right now.
Right.
But
do you think from his popularity of Yu Yu Hakusho is why he's kind of treating Hunter x Hunter like a redheaded stepchild, kind of, sort of?
well, I mean, technically, I don't think he has to work a day in his life again because he's married to the creator of Sailor Moon.
That's true, and like you said, he's the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho,
Which I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho is big,
guilty pleasure.
but I think it's having somewhat of a resurgence recently in the past year or two. But I think Yu Yu Hakusho is a lot like second or third tier popularity wise.
You take that back, mister.
No. Not saying like in general, in the general like fandom.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, most people go with, oh, I like Naruto, I like Dragon Ball, I like One Piece. Not many people. I don't many people hear people say, I like Yu Yu Hakusho.
That's true.
You know,
Usually it's people about our age that say that.
yeah. Usually people our age that say that. You know, but
so let me throw you a curveball.
uh-huh.
So, do you also think that maybe with One Piece, it's created the stigma that some of these other series should be like really long running series and should be able to like the mangaka should be able just to stick in there forever?
I don't know, because I mean, even Toriyama has taken hiatuses here and there,
Yeah.
but people don't normally talk about that. Usually, it's like a week or two that he does it.
Yeah.
But I mean, One Piece is also like a big fucking cash cow,
That's true.
and people are invested. Like I used to listen to the One Piece podcast, um, and they were like really into One Piece. That's all they talked about was One Piece, and like they,
All they talk about is
obviously,
One Piece.
but like even like with One Piece, there was fatigue. Like when they would get into like the Dressrosa and like all that stuff, or they would be like the arc would last for like several years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of shonen fans are like uh conditioned to want long running series, or necessarily sort of manga fans in general want like good solid long running series. But I mean, even when that happens, like there are blowups like Bleach, and I mean some people say Naruto ended with a whimper at some point, so like
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's just the scheduling, like where they have to constantly pump stuff out each week, a chapter each week, it could definitely get to them. And I mean, like we kind of read in Downfall, like even like hit the creator in that, like it got to him, like trying to create a new manga.
Right.
But I was gonna say something, but you made me forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like, oh god, now you're gonna forget what I was gonna say. Thanks a lot. Go ahead.
Damn you! Damn you!
I had something on like the tip of my tongue before you interrupted me.
Well,
Go ahead, continue.
just stick a mirror up and then stick your tongue out and see if it's still there. No, I mean, I really think that there's just a lot of stuff with that, and for a different series to kind of go on like that, like I don't really notice it from the manga aspect with Hunter x Hunter, kind of that stuff. I more so notice it from the anime standpoint because it's trying to come out and then it's like bucking up against the wall where it's like, oh hey, I can't do this one really right now because we don't have any more source material to work on.
Like, I know you don't read it, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I kind of like the structuring of that.
Yeah.
Because you get like one story and then that story stops. And then if he wants to, he can pick up and do another complete story in that universe.
Yeah.
And stop, Like, so you technically could stop with certain parts in that series. It's not technically structured like a normal manga.
Right.
Like story-wise, there's a beginning, middle, and end in each part of JoJo's.
Yeah.
So like I've only read 1, 2, and 3, parts 1, 2, and 3, and I could technically, if I wanted to, possibly skip part 4.
Yeah. And then
So like, because like with comic books, it's always in like that second half of the story. So that's why comic books are constantly evolving and, for better or worse, continuing the story of Spider-Man. But with manga, you have the eventually there will be an ending, and whether or not the ending sticks the landing is up to the creator, honestly, or the editor. Because who knows? Like even when the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho ended, he was getting tired of it.
Yeah.
To end it and like.
Yeah. Which I mean, we talked a lot about that too, where he wanted to end that, and then it was like, oh well, you can't because basically we own you, kind of thing, and then he just kind of started writing himself into a hole where he had to say like, hey, you're done,
I mean, Akira Toriyama did the same thing with Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
He wanted it to end with Frieza, and it continued. I mean, I guess it continued for the best, honestly. But because they're kind of like, from what I remember hearing, like the companies technically own the property
Right.
of
Right.
of
Unless
the
you're a bigger
manga.
mangaka.
So yeah, so they could basically go and do whatever the fuck they wanted without the manga if they wanted to.
Right.
You know. But
Okay.
like, there's even
Okay.
the one guy. I can't remember what his name is. He did Slam Dunk and Vagabond.
Yeah.
He basically has stated like he hates the crunch and the grind of the weekly Shonen Jump like manga
Right.
instance. Like, so that's why he doesn't like really do manga anymore. He's like, I'm gonna do it on my time, not yours,
Right.
type of thing. So like, you've already seen backlash throughout the years from some people, and
Yeah.
I do think,
Which, like you said earlier, Bakuman, we actually get to see a thing in that where it's really good, where they actually have a successful series and they go, we're working on 2 series, and they were both in like the Shonen Jump rendition where it was the weekly one. And they're like,
yeah,
we can't keep up with this flow. And they ended up getting one of the series put into the monthly one so that they
yeah,
could keep up with the chapters for both of them. And
yeah.
that worked out a lot better, I guess, for
I
that.
mean, the same thing kind of happened with like the guys who were doing like Ultraman. They um they were doing the Get a Robo one as well, and the Get a Robo one kind of ended, and Ultraman's been continuing, but Get a Robo had like
Right.
it just they stopped at like 5 volumes. Which begs the question, like, obviously one's gonna have to suffer over the other if you're doing multiple series at a time, which, man, that's gonna be some like a fucking major crunch right there.
Right. This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
But
I also think it's pretty crazy whenever you have one shots that come out. Like if you are doing 2 series, even if they're split up, and then you have the one shots come out as well.
mhm.
Unless it's a one shot that you already kind of had in your back pocket, then it's a little bizarre, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is also another thing I learned from playing that game.
I mean, we learned a lot from playing that game.
Because I would build up some stuff and then I
Oh, I
would.
remember what I was gonna say, like how
Yeah.
hard it is for people to break into the manga industry. Like, it's really hard for people to break into the manga industry, like, and be successful.
Yeah.
So that could put stress on the manga creators as well. If you're even just trying to break in and be successful, because you never know when your series is going to get canceled.
This is true. That is
Yeah.
a very good point.
But with the Hunter x Hunter guy that you were talking about, it stems from like back pains and not
Uh,
being able,
I think
like
it's
his
his. I think it's his hand.
no, but it's also his back pain. Like, he can only draw a certain way,
Yeah.
sitting a certain way. Like, he's talked about it, like, and like he can't like wipe his own bottom and stuff because his back hurts so much and stuff. But
I did
like,
not know this.
yeah, yeah, it came out last year, I want to say, or early this year, I can't remember.
Yeah.
So like when he has to like go use the bathroom, he has to take a whole shower to clean himself instead of wiping his bottom and stuff because his back pains. Um, but which, like, even like the artist for like Gundam Thunderbolt had like hand problems,
Yeah.
and like there's like a drastic style change within like that manga for like a good while.
Yeah.
And like they even like put it in there like, hey, like he had like hand problems, so he had to like change up his art style and stuff. And it's drastic, which is usually not something you normally see in a manga. Was obviously because most people are conditioned to think that, oh, the mangaka does it by himself. No, they usually have like assistants and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
Um, but like also like the crunch of being a mangaka also wears on their health, and I think that's why we get so many hiatuses and stuff like that from specific mangaka and stuff like that,
Yeah.
the being hunched over tables and stuff like that. And I don't think the fans really understand that because they want everything like right now. Like they're so rabid,
Yeah.
they don't think about the health of the mangaka normally.
It's like, it's my money and I want it now.
Yeah, basically. Because they're like, oh, I want to see what happens to Hunter x Hunter or whatever,
Yeah.
or Black Clover or whatever.
Which that also makes me think about other discussions we've had when it comes people reading scans and whatnot. Like basically you're taking somebody's work that they're probably suffering over for, when you do that just to read it,
Yeah. No, you're right.
So,
but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and I feel like most fans don't understand. I feel like I see a lot of bitching when things go on hiatus or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you gonna bitch? I don't know. I see it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
Like as being like a comic reader, or even like being like a reader of like novels or something. Like
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And I think that's kind of what one of the other things, since you brought up novels, I think that's kind of one of the other things that people see is because whenever they think of like a drawing, they're like, oh, that doesn't take as long as like writing a novel or anything. It's much easier to do that. When in reality, basically, like you writing a novel and you writing basically like a series or doing the art for a chapter, they kind of are the same time constraint almost. So and
Yeah.
I think that's also another thing that not a lot of people just get, that you are put under as much time constraint as a person doing this. So whenever somebody's like you took like, I don't know, like a book of Harry Potter, right? And you basically told I can't remember her name right now, but you were like, hey, I need you to write a chapter a week, like, do you think that somebody would be able to keep up with it, and how long some of the novel series run is, because me and somebody else were talking about it whenever it was the spillover of how in a anime TV show is covered in basically a volume of manga. And I was like, well, it differs. Sometimes 3 episodes of an anime can cover 1 book or 4 episodes. And then there's other ones that we've talked about where 3 books covered 1 episode of this anime because they cut out so much of it.
Yeah, there was one, it's a famous one, it's for Dragon Ball Z, where they had literally like 4 pages and they had to like do an anime episode about 4 pages.
Yeah.
So they had to like make up stuff.
Yeah.
But how do you feel like they could fix the problems and stuff that we talked about?
I feel like the company, whoever is renting these people out, quote unquote, should help out in a different way, more so, such as like getting them wrist guard instead of the person actually, having to buy their own, and straining over their workload, and also having like mandated almost vacation time, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the company forces them to say, hey, like you're going on vacation, buddy. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, like the days of the long running series are dead. to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna get long running series. I love the it was a little thing that I heard when it was from the creators of Fist of the North Star. They wrote each chapter like it was going to be their last chapter. And so like they like threw everything at the manga. Like they just went balls to the wall. I feel like more manga should do that, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh
Like
no, I agree.
don't be afraid to take those chances. Don't listen to the fans. Just do what you fucking want to do.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
that's very true. Because not only that, but I think that also if there's some of that they do as well with those is sometimes they can create better things that they want to instead of trying to please the fans.
Yeah.
Which I think turns into a problem too, because now they're adding added stress that they don't need, trying to say, hey, maybe I should handle this stuff and really work towards what my readers want. And sometimes when a mangaka does that, it ends up turning out like shit.
True.
So, um, maybe they should tell some of the people that read them kind of like, don't put such high standards on me, trying to survive, not work myself to death.
True, because it's a job for them. I mean, they might like it, but like it's a job that puts food on the table,
Right.
type of thing
Right.
for them. So that's how I look at it.
That's true. I agree with that one.
Yeah.
I found this on the web.
Jesus.
What was that?
That was my watch. I guess it was listening in on us.
Oh, that was weird.
I was like, what the fuck?
Anyways, you want to wrap us up on this episode?
Those G's.
You don't have anything else to talk about?
Those G's. No, I feel like we covered the topic pretty well. Anybody that has questions out there, let us know on that. As this is a medium that me and Mike cover and talk about on a regular basis,
which we haven't talked about one in a while.
Well, actually, so let's go into a little quick side conversation. Hopefully, this won't take us very long and get us over our scheduled time that we wanted. But being a dedicated YouTuber versus like what you and I do now,
yeah,
kind of thing. I feel like that's under the time constraint of, and you've gotten out of doing YouTube more recently than I have, but really having that, like, do you see the difference and whatnot? Just like in workload and whatnot.
Workload, yes. I mean, my workload did slow down quite a bit this year when it came to doing YouTube. I mean, it was ebbs and flows, honestly.
Yeah.
But I honestly felt like a weight was lifted off of me, like creatively.
Yeah.
But like a part of me still kind of misses it.
Yeah.
Like creating, but I mean, I have the outlet of the podcast now to create, but a part of me misses it, but it did take up a lot of my time and like trying to be creative and figure out things and what my audience may or may not like and stuff, and a lot of things would hit or miss on my channel. I did over 300 videos.
Yeah.
In the span of like almost 5 years.
Yeah.
I want to say. Maybe. Because how long have we been friends?
Yeah.
How long have we been friends? Do you remember?
How long have you and I been friends?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Like since forever. Probably since like 2018.
Okay, so a couple years.
So it's like 5 years, buddy. Don't
Yeah.
say a couple.
That was a couple of years, you know? Like, I did something for 5 years, and like, there were stressful times, you know, and like times where I thought I had to get something out when I didn't really have to get something out, you know. And you know, I may have kowtowed towards the fans or whatever, you know, what people liked or what people watched, you know, kind of like what mangakas do. But honestly, like, I miss it, but I also don't miss it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. But just the workload.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like our workload's different because whenever we did the podcast, like sure we came out thinking like the whole YouTube thing. And so I feel like it did have more of a drain on us in the beginning because we didn't exactly know and we were still filling out. Versus like how now it is, you know, it's like, all right, now, you know, we do a quick show and it's about any kind of subject we kind of want, you know, in a pretty broad topic, and people like to listen to it, you know, it's that way. Versus like before, you have to put stuff out and you have to really, really cater it down to a certain, like, I always feel like scientific thing, you know, and it's funny. Especially friends that we've made just doing the podcast, like Planes, Trains, and Comic Books and whatnot, how our content is somewhat similar, but at the same time, like our stuff is completely different from how like theirs is, you know, and so that's kind of another thing going at it. I think is different too, is in the fierce competition of us. Just like mangaka trying to put out stuff and whatnot, you're trying to say, well, how can I make my stuff unique than this other person that's doing the exact same story and whatnot? You know, I have magic, they have magic, I have swords, and they have swords. You know, how do I make my stuff stand out to be different and independent from their stuff? And how thing, you know, I feel that's kind of the same way with this versus also like with the YouTube, where I did feel like a lot of that fell into the same thing, because if you weren't watching kind of the same stuff from the same people every week, then it was like you were doing something wrong, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But no, I totally think that long run as well.
Yeah.
Being able to be diverse and whatnot and change up your story. So,
true. You're not wrong about that, you know, but if anybody would like to support the podcast, you can do it by sharing and listening. Tell your friends about the podcast. We're on Instagram, you know, all podcast platforms. If you rate and review our podcast, that would be nice. We'll read your review on the podcast. Go rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. What do we tell people at the end of every episode?
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, you will.